We'll call the meeting to order at 6:30. Joyce, you got that?
Yes.
First item is approval of minutes. Unless Chris and Ed, you have an objection, I'm going to look to approve all those, the 5 sets of minutes. February 9th, February 11th, February 18th, February 23rd, and March 2nd
Moved.
meeting minutes.
No issues with them.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Any questions, comments?
Nope.
All those in favor of approval of the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Public communication, we have an email from a resident, Marcy Newton, regarding the, I'm just going to read it. I would like to know why the town crew is using mulch on Skiff Mountain and all side streets up here. It is uncalled for and is ruining my car. Now it's frozen to the road. I would also like to appreciate them removing snow at the end of Daldorf next to Kent School Cemetery, as you cannot see to pull out. They pile snow there every year, and I have almost been T-boned 3 times this year trying to pull out of my own road. I hope this situation can be remedied, but I'm not sure it can until someone holds Rick accountable. I have pictures of snow pile, but the file is too large to send with this. So I know that Rick uses a green product called Ice Chip that mixes, it comes from a vendor in, I think, Bloomfield, and it mixes ground up wood product with salt, and it actually is not as bad for the environment as salt is, and the wood provides some traction. So I know that Rick has been using that for, is he on yet? Probably, I want to say 2 or 3 years. They're a small Connecticut business growing. As far as the pile of snow at the end of Daldorf, when he comes on, sorry.
Hey, Gene?
I know that they move the pile and they, make the pile smaller
So,
when they can.
so I think that's great. I think we reacted to it, and I think it's probably appreciated by Marcy. And I think if you can just get back to her and tell her this is the product they use, and that's what we do. I mean, it's not like we're doing anything intentionally trying to do anything about that.
So when we have, and I'm just looking, Ed and Chris, for your, just a quick discussion. When we get these emails that are to all 3 of us, the practice has been that we don't do anything, nothing happens to them until the following board meeting. It seems like it would make more sense to address this is a simple 2-minute response just to give her some information. Is there any reason why we can't just go forth and write up these responses so we get back to them and then report at the board meeting?
Yeah, I think in the situation that you just talked about, I think you did what you've just said. We all got the email. You took action, made sense, and now you're reporting that we got, we agree we got it and read it into the minutes, but that you actually took action to address the specific question. And I think
the practice has been that if it comes to the board as a whole, that no action is taken on the email until it's discussed at a Board of Selectmen meeting among the 3 of us. So I have not gotten back to Marcy because that is the past practice.
Well, Okay, well, that's fine that you haven't gotten back to her, but you took care of the issue. You just said, did you not, that the pile has been knocked down?
Rick has managed the pile. I mean, it's,
Yeah, so if you've done, I mean, if it's a safety hazard, there's no reason to wait a month for me and Ed to say, okay, take care of it. You are the one who's gonna, I think you did, you took care of it. So if you're reporting back that says, this is what I did and I haven't gotten back to the owner, but if you guys have any input, then I will, but I think you took the steps that you need to. And like, if somebody sends an email and it needs action, I think you should take that action.
okay, that's,
Don't you, Ed?
Oh, I agree, since we don't really have a say in it anyway, because Gene is Rick's boss. So
Yeah.
the safety issue, we don't usually get a say in it anyway. So
well, it's not that you don't have a say, I'm just trying to get clarification from
yeah, but
y'all
having a
on
month later,
practice.
say so.
What?
Having a say a month later really isn't a say, and Rick did it. So if it's a safety issue, you can just even send us an email saying, I've taken the steps, Rick is taking care of it, and that's fine with me.
Same here.
Okay, what I would do is just do a reply all, so you all have visibility on the response, and
Excellent.
okay.
Excellent.
And then we don't waste this time getting into this level of weeds at a meeting.
Yep, makes sense, Gene.
Fantastic. Report of the treasurer, Barbara, you're up.
What? I'm not ready, actually. I'm
Already?
just doing my report. I'll just submit it in writing. There's really nothing really exciting happening in my report, except I've been to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 meetings in February. So it was busy, busy February. And the tax collectors collected a lot of money. Other than that, it's pretty status quo.
Yeah, so everything, all lines seem to be pretty good, in good shape.
Yes, the same issues that we had before
Yep,
are still
I
there,
gotcha.
but there's
gotcha.
nothing new.
Okay.
Okay?
And just lastly, we talked about revenue in another meeting. Is revenue seem to be up in all departments?
I would have to check on that and get back to
Okay.
you, but I will do that.
No need, it's just an anecdotal. Don't worry about it. You don't have to get back to me.
Okay.
Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you.
We have one tax refund for $114.08 to approve, so I'll move that motion.
Second.
There you go.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have nothing under new business unless, Joyce, there's an invisible item under A.
I have nothing additional.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Old business, transfer station, we had our first weekend with the glass container, and the feedback from the public was very positive. You know, there were a few people who were saying, oh, you know, we're coming full circle to the way it was back in the 80s when we did have to separate everything out. Everybody was very interested in our, you know, the pilot program, and that it's 100% post-consumer product that comes out of it, that it's staying local, that it's going to eventually reduce our municipal solid waste because the cost is much lower for the tonnage per ton. And so it was a lot of conversations, and it definitely did take it took more interaction with the public over at the commingle. But I think as we move along, I think they're pretty quickly gonna be really good at just taking their glass and separating out and putting it in that other container. So, and hopefully this week I'll get sort of an update out to the listserv about how that program is starting, and just reminders of everything has to be topless. We sort of established that. So that's really the biggest thing. And Jen Heaton is working really hard to make sure that they have levels of if the pull is a certain percent contaminated, we can get fined. So it's, you know, we're motivated to make sure that that doesn't happen. And Jen is very motivated to make sure that none of her towns get fined. So, and because we're in a pilot program, it sort of puts us in a better spot. But more to come. We're just getting started with that.
And where are we in the budget with that? The transfer station, with all the overtime that's been paid for a year now, just about.
I don't know if Barbara has that at her fingertips.
Okay, but if we could get that pretty quick, I've been asking about that. So if we can get that at some point, I'd appreciate it.
I do have that. That was actually provided not too long ago, but I can give you an update. Just bear with
Okay.
me 1 second.
Isn't there a projection also in the,
Right here tonight, but at some point, if we can get an update emailed to us, I'd appreciate it.
I think it might be a projection also in the expenditure line in the budget we're working with presently,
Yeah.
Right.
anticipated.
Currently, to date, the salary line has not been exceeded. It's at 72.9% for the transfer station. And overall, the whole transfer station budget is at 70.8% of what was budgeted.
And we have what, 3 more months to go?
4.
4 months? Okay. All right. Thank you.
The next is the assessor.
I'm sorry, were we on the transfer station? I don't have the agenda up in front of me, but is it the transfer station we were on?
We were,
That's
yep.
what we're on. Yep.
Moving
Okay,
on.
where are we with respect to the hiring?
I just reposted the attendant position, and I need to talk to Barbara about the finances of the manager position with the 2 candidates that are basically in the hopper. Just,
Okay, so
we're both
just to play
very
catch up.
busy.
Just to play catch up. We posted the manager position and we have 2 applicants that
Yep.
you find attractive. Okay, good. And what is the process on that, sort of the timeline, do you think?
I'm hoping in the next week to get it done. It all depends on, you know, all the other plates in the air.
Okay, but get it done mean actually hire someone and get them on the job.
Get an offer out, yeah.
Okay. All right, that's good. Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to see. So then they have the attendance, and we have no applicants for that yet, or?
Well, we had hired 2. We let 1 go,
Right.
and I reposted the position. Darlene's putting it on the website. It's a tough position
Yep.
to fill to some extent
So
because of the atmosphere we're in right now.
who's our newest employee, the attendant?
Mike Kvfd.
Mike Kvfd. Can you give us just a quick little history as to who and where he or she are from?
He started back in, I want to say, November. He worked for the New York City Department of Sanitation in, I think, Brooklyn.
Okay.
And he lives over across the state line.
Okay, great. That's good. Thank you.
The assessor, that position is up until Friday, the 12th. I spoke with Rufus Duran, the elder, and he's agreed to be on the selection committee. And I'd like to get 1 or 2 more folks on that. So we have a number of questions, and those questions will be asked over Zoom interviews of the candidates, and then we'll score those, each panel of questions, and then from that we'll come out with, you know, the person that we recommend, and then we'll come back to the board with that. The Jimmy, Jen, and I meet every Monday, and we'll continue meeting every Monday until there's a new assessor in the position, just to have a little bit of FaceTime to, they're both in the office on Mondays, so it's just an opportunity to check in and, you know, just make sure that we're communicating, and if they need anything, they let me know. They also know how to get a hold of me, no matter what. So I just have made sure that they have the availability to be in touch. So we'll keep doing that every week.
Might there be somebody from the Board of Finance that might want to be on that committee?
That's a good idea. I can reach out to Nancy to see if she has thoughts.
And this is a hiring committee, correct? So I think they, at least in practice that I recall, and those who've been around, remind me if this is right or not, but I think we set them up and approve them. So isn't that accurate? Or did we just give them the green light? Do you remember, Joyce?
We have to actually set the committee up.
Oh, the Board of Selectmen has to approve the hiring committee?
Well, yes, you're creating a subcommittee.
We're creating a subcommittee. Okay, that's what I recall. Okay.
That's the way it used to be.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna make a motion that we create an assessor's hiring committee.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Wait, before you do that, you need to say how many members, who the members are going to be, what their charge is, when they're
Yep.
effective. There needs
Okay.
to be more than just creating a committee.
Okay, first time I've ever done it, so
It's okay.
any guidance is very much appreciated.
Yep.
So either 3 or 5, I would think. 5 makes it a little bit harder to
Yeah, I would think 3 would be fine.
get everybody together, especially in the short turnaround time that we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, so you already have commitment from Rufus. If you get
Mhm.
somebody from the Board of Finance and you sit on it, that's 3 people.
Mhm.
And Joyce would be, I would imagine, sitting in from an administrative point of view. I would think that would make a group. And the goal is to hire a new assessor.
And so is it to hire an assessor or to recommend to the Board of Selectmen a candidate?
It's to make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
You
Anything
wanna
else
make that-
we're
You want to
missing?
make
Joyce?
that amended one, and I'll second it?
Thanks. Anything else, Joyce, that we're missing?
No, that's it.
We ready to take a vote?
Yeah, Joyce, can you just read that back for me, please? So
Jean made a motion to create an assessor hiring committee consisting of Rufus, a Board of Finance member, and Jean to make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen.
excellent. And that has been seconded, correct?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Streetscape Building Committee.
I've, in the process, just before anyone else jumps on, Joyce was kind enough to get me that list, and I've made one call, and we'll round up those right-of-way letters. I'll try to get that done by the end of the week.
I think we only have like 8 left to go, 8 or 9, because we got 2 people at the chamber meeting the other night said they were sending theirs in. Do you know how many are left, Joyce?
I had 10, so you told me 2, and I think Chris referred to the same one, so there should be like 8 left.
Great.
And I talked to the Kent Town Center, and they're okay, and they'll be sending theirs in.
Okay.
So I'll get to the others. I don't know everybody, so I'm gonna, some of them, like, I'll have to find out how to get in touch with them, but we'll get them.
Joyce, do you know if Mike was going to be attending the meeting tonight?
I had originally thought he was going to, but I do know when I asked him today if we were having a streetscape meeting on Thursday, he said yes. So maybe he doesn't have anything to report yet because he was still trying to get in touch with DOT and the railroad people.
And DOT never called me back either. From the
And you-
permit.
And you, for the permits, right?
Yep.
And who'd you reach out to for that, Ed?
Ron Ferris, both in email and phone calls. Like I said, I would.
Okay.
And if you go on their site under the permits, under Gina's heading, Ron Ferris is underneath it. So they must work in both the same departments. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Swift House, Emily M. Hobson Trust UA. I'm going to turn over to Barbara.
Okay, just bear with me a second so I can pull up that PDF so I can share it. Share screen. Oh, here it is. Okay. So everybody can see this, yes?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. The Swift House Committee had been going around and around about funding, and it was discussed that a roof was necessary, and a couple of weeks back, the Board of Selectmen put money into the proposed budget for the roof. And I am making the recommendation that that money well, I already took it out of the proposed budget, and that the roof get paid for out of this fund that was created as a result of a bequest. As you can see, the bequest was way back in 2002. The total amount of the bequest we received was $33,520. Today, the balance, or when I did this report, was $38,000, which is, from my understanding, more than enough to complete the roof project on the Swift House. And this bequest was left specifically, as it says in this letter, for the use of the Swift House. So it's going to help me because the auditor has been wanting me to expend these funds and get rid of this little tiny fund. And so this is the perfect time to use this money.
Perfect time. Great.
So I think the Board of Selectmen should make a motion to expend this money in this current fiscal year on the Swift House, and then that project can go forward.
I will make that in the form of a motion.
I'll second that. We have some discussion.
Thanks, Barbara.
You're welcome.
Aye.
Wait.
Hey, hold on one second.
Just some discussion.
I know.
We need to flesh out any estimated cost or anything to make
Well,
it part of
we're
the,
Just going to vote to expend the money this year. That's all.
Okay.
If once you start pinpointing it to a certain thing,
No, I was going actually, we had an appointed subcommittee. Their job was to recommend to the board. That job is completed.
right?
So there's, at least in my mind. And the next step would be some other committee that would build it, do whatever's necessary on it, which may be the same people, may not be.
Okay.
But you're right, Ed, it's just for the expenditures and we can decide that later.
But I thought you already approved the expenditure for the roof. That's what this money would go toward. You guys already moved and did that.
That was when,
That's-
last time?
Right.
But I'm just talking about who's going to actually oversee doing it, Barbara, that's all.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not talking about, I'm talking about the committee is there a building committee, blah, blah, blah.
I will help you with it if you want to be on it, Chris.
I think what I was leading to, Ed, is I don't want to be on it.
Okay, that's okay.
But it would be good if a selectman were on it. I think that would be appropriate.
I don't mind being on it if it's only for the roof part of it.
Great.
Okay.
So just so we can wrap up this motion,
Yep.
Right.
I know we digress, but
and then we'll fix these
figure out
other
next time.
two things. So all those in favor, Joyce, can you read the motion again?
You've just made a motion to expend the funds from the Emily M. Hobson Trust UA this fiscal year. That's all.
Okay.
Perfect.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So next, I'll make a motion to, the word just escaped me. In order to close out the current Swift House Task Force. A motion to disband the Swift House Task Force with their thanks for their work.
Second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So while I'm still on, can I address Chris's query earlier about the revenues?
Yeah, but I want to assign a new subcommittee
Oh, okay. All right, go ahead.
for, do we want to, how do we want to word it? I'm sorry?
I think you should send out a little thing in the newsletter, your weekly newsletter, that we're looking for volunteers to be on a committee for the Swift House, for the roofing project and other things that may be deemed necessary, rather than jump right into us appointing a committee tonight.
Yeah, and I would echo that and just reach out to both Zan and Marge
Right.
and say, if they have interest, to sort of let you know.
Go ahead, Barbara, sorry.
So to get back to Chris's query about the revenues, so far there's a half a dozen revenue lines that have exceeded their budgeted amount. The first one is Town Aid Road, but the funding for that can only be spent on roads, so that's the way that works. The other line that's exceeded its budgeted amount is the State of Connecticut miscellaneous grants, and that's in large part because of the COVID funding that has been released to the town. The third line is the building permits that have been issued. The revenue to the town was budgeted at $18,000, and so far to date, we've already received $20,000 in revenue, with 4 more months left to go. The bulky waste has exceeded its revenue budget by $4,000. $5,000 was budgeted. We've taken in $9,122. Pistol permits have exceeded their budgeted amount. They was budgeted at $400. It's already at $1,540. The Commission of Inland and Wetlands has exceeded their budgeted amount. They were budgeted to bring in $800. So far, they've already brought in $1,113. And lastly, the town clerk has exceeded their budgeted revenue by $68,000. Budgeted $80,000 total revenue, already received $148,920 in revenue. There's a couple other lines that are close. They haven't gone over their budgeted amount yet, but they most likely will. And that would be the Commission of, or Planning and Zoning, excuse me. They're very close, so they'll probably go over by the end of the year.
And any 490 penalties revenue?
Yes, there was one 490 penalty, 43, or it might have been two actually, but the total is $43,240.
And was that accounted for in the town clerk number?
No,
No, where was that? Is that just a separate number beyond?
that's a separate revenue line, yeah.
Yep,
But we
okay,
don't
thank you.
budget it because we never have any knowledge.
Right, you never know what's gonna happen on it. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And I asked the town aid road, you said we were overspent on that item?
No, we received more money than we budgeted for it,
Okay, good, okay,
$6,000 more, but
right,
but Rick has to spend that money on roads, so we don't have a choice there.
right, okay.
Thank you, Barbara.
KVFD parking lot snow plowing. I'm gonna turn this over to Ed.
I don't think we need to worry about it anymore. It's been getting done, so.
You had said you wanted some sort of formal agreement between the fire department and the town.
Well, are you gonna continue to have Rick do it?
It's not up to me, it's up to the board. I was, we were talking about, when we last talked about this, you wanted some sort of formal agreement, and then you were going to go back and talk to the fire department about what that agreement, what you wanted it to look like.
Okay, I'll still work on it then. We've got next year to worry about it, so.
Yeah,
okay.
I think we just make sure that it's prepared for next year.
Right, sounds good.
Okay. Social media policy and the policy and procedure manual, we're going to keep on there, and eventually, hopefully once I get clear budget season a little bit, I can address it.
Mhm.
Spend some time with getting it. Social media policy is almost there, so we can get it approved. Chris, Main Street.
Yeah, good old Main Street and its traffic. I've not done anything beyond on my last meeting, which was before December with our police officer, Andrew. I think the question before us, though, is, and maybe what we do is take the the warm weather to really focus on it. I've talked to a bunch of people who are on Main Street who have considerable concerns, some with noise, some with not noise, some with motorcycles, some with parking, which I think we've alleviated somewhat. Sort of sight lines. When you guys went out and striped and posted off the crosswalks, I think that's helped considerably. But I think we as a board really have to think about what we want to do, because it's clear to me, just in talking to Andrew and also in talking to others downtown, that some sort of enforcement, consistent enforcement needs to happen, or even a presence rather than an enforcement on Main Street during the busiest times. Andrew tells me the busiest time is actually Saturday. And I don't think this is the budget season or flavor to see how we can supplement that, but there are some ideas that we can flush out over time. But I guess if we all can focus on identifying all of the different components of concerns, that I think would be helpful. And especially if we do get the sidewalks as planned this summer, we'll have we'll really see how traffic flows and people flow, and maybe we'll have to act to do something differently downtown with some police enforcement.
Excellent.
Well, the good news is from Andrew, and I think I mentioned this before, the state has reopened Kent Falls, so he doesn't have to really worry about that as much. We'll see what the summer brings. North Kent Road can be a hassle for him. I think this board needs to consider, what do we do there? Do we lock it off completely, knowing that summer's coming? Do we have some sort of system whereby people can access it, but it's monitored and patrolled? Maybe not with a police enforcer, but with somebody from the town. But the biggest one and the bear that's the toughest to wrestle, of course, is Bulls Bridge. The conundrum there is we own the road, but we don't own anything else there. And because we own the road, we're responsible for policing it. That's a challenge, certainly, because I believe we've pretty much lost our volunteer base there, which was wonderful, but tough to sustain, especially volunteers, having to interact with people who have a clear design to do what they want to do rather than what somebody else wants to tell them to do for safety purposes and trash purposes. So, and it's because of that Andrew gets pulled away quite a bit. And I don't know, we just have to figure out how to alleviate that some way. Maybe we noodle that around a little bit too.
And it's right around the corner.
Yeah, so we've been meeting over the last, I want to say 5 weeks probably, with HVA, the Houstonic Valley Association. They did a number, I want to say 3 probably, basically focus groups where they reached out to one cadre was the residents, the neighbors of the whole swath. So the corridor from basically New Milford all the way up to and through into Salisbury. And so they, one by one, reached out to them, pulled them in, had a Zoom conference with them to talk about feedback, what their thoughts were on this last summer, what their complaints were, to really get a sense from the residents that are nearby in all of those locations. So for Kent, it's obviously Bulls Bridge and North Kent Road. So we put them in contact with the neighbor on the corner of North Kent Road and a bunch of the neighbors on the river down near Bulls Bridge area. And it was, no town CEOs were invited to that because they wanted to make sure that the residents felt like they could speak freely and just talk about what their opinions were. So they did that. Then they met with the CEOs along the river and basically did the same thing. What were our pinch points, what went well, what were big frustrations. And it was we're all, frustrated by the same issues and conundrums of wanting to make it open for everybody who wants to visit, but also keeping some sort of semblance of being organized and clamping down on the litter and all the obvious, the services. And so we had that. And then most recently they met with all of the fire and EMS and law enforcement. So there were a bunch of troopers from Troop B. Andrew was there. Our fire department, a bunch of the other fire departments were there, had the same conversation. So our next conversation is going to be pulling this all together and coming up with some actual solutions, one of which already they've identified they're going to hire, I think, twice as many HVA, the Rio advocates. So they're basically workers who go in teams to all the different river locations, and they work to educate the public and inform the public. And yeah, Chris, you're absolutely right. I don't think that our Bulls Bridge team is going to be coming back. So I think the increasing the numbers of those Rio folks is going to be huge. They're also looking at a lot of outreach to where the visitors are coming from. So instead of waiting for them to come here and educate them, to do outreach, because the previous years that they have done this, I think it was 2 years in a row, they actually collected data from people where they just did informal interviews and they got zip codes and sort of learning the behavior of the visitors, and they mapped all of it. It was really pretty fascinating. So taking it to the next level to figure out how do you reach out to the people who are visiting these locations and educate them on that all along this corridor that swimming is prohibited. You know, they talked about the Great Falls piece and how, I mean, they're having the same situation we are down at Bulls Bridge, where people are going to go swimming, even though swimming is prohibited in both places. So more to come, but that's sort of where we are to date with HVA. And they've been great about organizing this whole thing and really creating this coalition from all the way from New Milford all the way up to the Massachusetts line. So hopefully we'll be able to get some solutions in place. But the big piece was from every single town was the human resources. It needs human resources and services.
Two things. One, just a statement. I think that if we can solve that problem, that will loosen up time for Andrew to be more of a presence downtown, where it seems to be the most congestion and the most needed for just sort of decorum. And I think if he's there, or some sort of police officer is there, it makes people sort of pay attention.
Yeah, it's a natural deterrent.
I have a question though, and it's a sidebar off of this, but tangentially tied in. Has HVA come out and said that they are actually looking for the river to be an activity place, or is there sort of a long-term planning goal as to, clearly it is a place of recreation, but there doesn't seem to be a recreational focus center, and I think that's probably part of the reason why we have this helter-skelter run to the river, if you will, and also protection of the river, and then of course problems with the river. But North Kent Road, years ago, there was a thought that there would be a public boat launch there. People would bring their boats down and be able to canoe and kayak down from a business, town of Kent business. That might be a boon, where people get in and after 4 hours or 3 hours of floating down that bony river, climb out and, get themselves something to eat, or buy something, or walk around, or like the town.
Mm-hmm.
But it just doesn't seem that, and I'd be curious to see, Jean, if, are they just patrolling it, or are they actually looking for it to be a recreation destination?
I think it's more on the patrolling, although I'm not a fan of that word, because they're doing more than just patrolling. They're engaging with the people who are using it and gathering data and providing education. I don't think their plan is to come up with a master plan of, how do you, let's say it's 6 locations between Gaylordsville and the Mass line. How can HVA, work out agreements with all of the different landowners, the federal, state, local, et cetera, and create some sort of recreation riverway? I don't think that's their plan. I think their plan is to, within the construct, the current construct, is to provide assistance so that there ends up being more access to the current river locations. But it's a good question, and I'll ask it the next time that we meet.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to reports, and just to dovetail into this, we got notification, I think yesterday, from the COG that all 21 towns are getting new Your Speed signs. So our current ones are, they're cumbersome and a pain to pull the data off of. The new signs they're all cloud-based. So I'll be able to sit here on my phone and pull the data from the signs, which is obviously a huge improvement. So we pick them up, I think, next Friday, the 19th. And their first stopping place for at least a month is We're looking at Elizabeth Street because we've been getting feedback from the public that the speeding is sort of out of control there. Andrew stepped up his enforcement and patrolling over on Elizabeth Street, has had numerous conversations with residents who live on that street and have been speeding, who don't live on that street and have been speeding. And he's talked to the principal about just some general messaging. So we'll look to place those signs the following week. So the week of the 22nd at some point. Rick's got to get a pipe into the, or whatever it's called, what's the word, Rick? A receiver for the sign in the ground over on the other side, because there was one on the inbound side towards Kent Center School. So that's coming up. Went over the HVA meeting. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, just to follow up on the sign issue. So how many signs did you say? I'm sorry, I didn't catch. Two. So I hope we can still employ the ones that we have, even though they may not be collecting data. I think that good just as a reminder in places, and I know they cost like $2,500 a piece, so it would be a shame to throw them out or get rid of them. So I might recommend if we could install them in places. I would also, and I have asked, and I would, I really would think it's best for all if we had an actual street list and a rotation of when those signs are going to be moved around. Because if you're on Camps Road and you never get a sign and everyone else does, there's a lot more activity on Camps Road that used to be, due to the fact that there's now the brewery down there. So I think, in fairness to everybody, it would be really nice to see a rotation of where signs will be placed. I know it's probably a hassle to pull them out, put them back in, and figure it all out, but even if it was something that was rotated over 2 or 3 years, I think that would be fine. But at least that people know.
Yeah, I can work with Rick on that. They need to have a post to sit in. So every time they're moved, a new post has to be put in where they're going to get moved to.
Yep. I know it's not easy.
But we can certainly look to do that. One of the signs is not operational right now. I'm not sure how much, if it's worth expending
I broke it, sorry.
But the other 3 signs are still out, and we'll look to get those moved to other places. So just a quick COVID catch up. We had our daily case rate went up to 35 after being quite low for about a month or 6 weeks. The Torrington Area Health Department, because we're now moving towards vaccination, and they're very, very busy having vaccine clinics and trying to make that happen, they're no longer reporting to me all of the address detail. So I don't know why we had this spike. I don't know. It's very easy to see when you see all the addresses. You can, you see 40, and I think this is common knowledge. You see 40 Bullsbridge Road 6 or 7 times, and that indicates a cluster at South Kent School. But I don't see that detail anymore, so I don't know why that number would be so high. I just saw from the state the numbers are going back up across the state, which indicates that people are letting down their guard, and we really have to just stay vigilant, because the variants that are here, it's really a race of are we going to get enough people vaccinated first, or are the variants going to ebb ahead or flow ahead of the rate of vaccination. I don't have any information on the status of the High Watch vaccine clinic in town. I had an email exchange with the branch chief that oversees facilities licensing, and she just said there is an investigation and we have to go through our process. So, and that's all they're gonna say. So we wait until we have more information on that. They are allowed to continue with anyone who's had an initial dose. They can go back there and get their second dose. So they're continuing to do that, but they've been put on pause for the first doses. There are more pharmacies coming online all the time. We're also looking at assisting the local pharmacy. There was some forward movement there, but that stalled a little bit, but we're still looking to help in any way that we can. Emergency management has reached out. So we're sort of in a wait and see mode on that as well. Sustainable CT, I have 5 people who have volunteered to be on that team so far.
Great.
I'm pretty excited. There's one person, sorry, I'm trying to get the list here, who sent me an email, who is an urban planner by training and has spent the last 20 years as a consultant working in transportation, resiliency, economic development, and real estate strategies. She's currently the chief strategy officer for the New York City Department of Transportation and lives in South Kent. So she and the other 3 or 4 folks have all sorts of interesting backgrounds. So I'm pretty excited to get that started. I'll probably plan to have the kickoff meeting end of the month, and we will go from there. Nothing on cell tower.
I'm sorry,
nothing.
Jean, I'm sorry, just from a procedural point of view, help me, do we have to appoint those people? What is it? What kind of committee or what kind of group is it?
I'll have
It's
to
not a
check.
subcommittee.
No, it's not. I'll have to check back with you on that. I don't think so, but if we do, I'll.
Yeah, just get us a list and
Yeah,
that's great.
thanks. Scotticook Indian Tribe, nothing new. We were waiting to hear from about the confirmation of the new Secretary of the Interior. I don't know if that's been, if that appointment has been made. There were hearings in the last couple of weeks. But Jeff Sienkiewicz and the team are continuing to monitor that. So nothing of substance to report. And that's all I have for the moment. Chris or Ed, do you all have any? We've sort of hit on a lot of different topics.
I just see that John and Russell and Bonnie are on. Are they on? Was there anything that they needed or wanted to say, or is it just interest?
I'll let them speak for themselves.
I was just listening in, was curious about the plowing thing, but actually glad I didn't need to contribute.
Yeah, okay.
So I'll get back to dinner.
Yeah, same with me, Chris. I was just listening in.
Okay, just wanted to make sure we weren't missing something.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Great. I'm
Motion to adjourn?
shocked
Oh,
to say that it's, oh, go ahead, Ed. You're
unmute.
on mute.
Are we gonna set a date for town hall opening back up at some point here?
Yeah, I gotta meet with David and Eric, and we have to see if the governor's given any indications of, I know the executive orders are due to expire on April 19th.
But he did expand for capacities up to 25 people inside.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because my state of Connecticut new policy came out, and if we've been exposed to COVID, we go to work until our test comes back if we're positive or negative. That's the newest one we just, from the state of Connecticut as an employee. So you go to work until your test comes back negative, and then you go home and quarantine after you've been around all the other employees.
Well, I think it would be good to have sort of some perspective on that. I also think that it would be great if we could have as much as we can, a consensus from all those who work in town hall. I know some want more and some might not want, but it seems silly to me if I don't know if the end of the tunnel is in reach, but certainly we're moving in a direction where we are vaccinating people, and it would be, to me, a little foolish to open up prematurely if indeed we can, wait a little bit longer. I know it's a touch and go, but I think if we have as many people weighing in, I think that would be positive for all of us. The governor can open it up, but they can't. He's not mandating whether we open or not, right?
Nope.
No, but there's information that I want to have.
Yeah. But you make
Answer
decision, not
questions.
you make the decision, not the governor. Is my
Correct.
point. All right. Good. Yep. Okay.
That's good for me then.
And just the other, I forgot to mention this during COVID, the testing site, we confirmed they're going to go at least through the end of this month. We've always been going month to month with them, but I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that we're good to go for the rest of the month. And with that, it is 7:27, and I will call us adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the warming weather.
Thank you.